Hi, and welcome to Enchantment of Eternity's review for Dark Matter Season 2, Episode 9, Going Out Fighting. This video is a part of a series of videos where I review episodes of Dark Matter, so I'll have to give you a spoiler warning for Dark Matter up to Season 2, Episode 9. If you haven't seen up to this point, you may not want to watch this video, otherwise some things may be spoiled for you. So, this was a pretty exciting episode. One of the more interesting ones the show has done as it builds out the storyline of two dying as their nanites are malfunctioning. It was great seeing Wil Wheaton's Rourke character again, as he's probably one of the best villains the show has, as he comes off as a real arrogant asshole, and that played really well in this show. However, as exciting as this episode was, it didn't really blow me away. Nothing about the ending was really that great, and the ending was only mildly entertaining. So the episode begins with Four and Nyx hooking up, and I gotta say, I have mixed feelings about this, as I almost think it would have been better had they simply kept their relationship professional. And they kind of already did this casual sleeping together thing with 2 and 3 and 2 and 1 last year. Although the way, they were so weird about it afterwards almost makes me think that there's more to it, and it might bud into a romance, as 2 and 3 weren't weird about it at all, and have since pretty much forgotten all about it. However, I do like how this season is really building on Four's character. This episode in particular did a lot to flesh him out, as in season 1 he came off as a bit two-dimensional to me, as like sort of a stereotypical Asian ninja type character. This season he feels more like a fleshed out and intriguing well-rounded character. Of course, the show has already sold me on Nyx through the brief time that she's been on the show. I do think that there hasn't been enough of her as late, and more Nyx is always a good thing. So the main plot kicks in when the android announces that 2 is dying as their nanites are failing, so they return to Earth to try to infiltrate Dwarf Star's headquarters, the company that created her, in order to get more nanites. So this leads to a really exciting storyline I thought played out really well, where they plan a heist on the space station where the only way to get to it is through a space elevator from Earth, which has very heavy security measures. So they plan to do this by abducting a key scientist, Eric Weaver. But when they go to confront him, as soon as 2 appears, he recognizes her and agrees to help, as apparently they have had a good relationship in the past, and she had spared his life in her initial escape where she killed everyone else. So this was a nice little touch. I like this character, but he may have been wearing a red shirt, because I know there was no way in hell that he was getting out of this episode alive. But the scenes with his geeky friends that they used to break into the station were quite funny, and I enjoyed them. So 3 and 6 infiltrate the space station with Eric Weaver to find the nanites, but are discovered as Rourke was expecting something like this, because he knew that 2 would be dying. And just to show how big of an asshole he is, he kills Weaver for no good reason. So with 3 and 6 taking so long, 2 figures that something went wrong, so she plans a rescue mission by using the blink drive to simply appear in the station with the Marauder, which was pretty cool. 4 rescues 3 and 6, however, 3 is acting a bit weird after being interrogated by Rourke. And 2 goes to get the nanites, but is intercepted by Rourke, who unleashes the newer, more advanced version of her on her, who proceeds to kick her ass. And when 2 looks completely beat, Nyx shows up to join in the fight. And honestly, I was hoping that Nyx would use her, future seeing abilities to take this guy down, as that would really show how badass she is. But alas, she didn't fare that well against him, and it takes 6 and 4 coming in with guns blazing to finally take this guy down. And when it looks like 2 is going to die because her nanites are finally shutting down and they failed to get the new ones, 6 comes up with this brilliant idea to inject her with the blood from the newer version, as his blood would carry the newer nanites, and it's successful in saving her life. And again, I thought this played out really well. I was a bit disappointed that they didn't kill Rourke, because that guy's such an asshole and I'd love to see him die. But on the other hand, the show wouldn't have this great villain anymore if they killed him, so perhaps it was wise to keep him around so he can come back later on. And the story doesn't end there, as 3 is still acting strange and they realize something's up with him and they find him in the engine room tinkering around. Was he going for the blink drive or was he just trying to sabotage the engines? I'm not sure. But anyway, there's some weird entity type thingy inhabiting him. So after shocking him, they decide to put him in hypersleep. And honestly, I was thinking and hoping that at this stage that 3 would remain in hypersleep for a while and miss like a couple of episodes like 6 did. Not because I don't like 3, as I'm actually getting somewhat used to his character, but because I thought it would add a nice new dynamic. However, hypersleep does nothing to this entity inhabiting him, which leaves his body, and they manage to get 3 to safety before blowing it out into space. So I'm not sure if we'll get more about this entity. I hope that they don't pull the whole routine where it ends up being a stowaway on the ship and inhabiting people at random, as that would be super cliche. I've seen like dozens of Star Trek episodes that have done this already. And Stargate episodes and all sorts of other sci-fi shows that do this. But I would like more of a follow-up on what the hell this thing was, because I don't think they just introduced it to mean nothing. We had to get more on it, otherwise this whole thing was kind of a waste of time. Of course, I think they will touch on it, as 2 mentioned something about wanting answers to what the hell Rourke is up to, so I do think they're leaving it open for a nice story thread that they can follow up on later on. And earlier in the episode, we got a scene with 5 and the android trying to comfort her, but at the same time stealing her hot chocolate. This scene was mostly played for laughs, and I did find it kind of comedic, but it also annoyed me because I hate it when someone steals someone else's food like that. And why would the android do this? Why would you do it? I suppose it's indicating that something's up with her, as we already know that she's no typical android. And indeed, the episode ends with the cliffhanger of the android waking up in a bed looking like a normal human, so this is obviously leading into next week's episode being more android centric. So I hope we finally get some answers on what's up with her. So my rating for Going Out Fighting out of 10 is an 8, extremely good. I love the storyline of them trying to find the nanites to save 2's life. I actually found it really suspenseful, as they were up against really high odds and the stakes were high. In fact, I wouldn't put it past this show to kill 2 off, which would have totally sucked, so I'm glad they didn't do that, but the suspense was really played off really well. However, the ending wasn't all that exciting, and the part of 3 being possessed seemed kind of tacked on, but all in all, a pretty exciting episode. So that's it for my review of Going Out Fighting. Be sure to check back here every week as I continue to review episodes of Dark Matter. Also be sure to check out my channel for many more videos on shows like Game of Thrones, Star Trek, Mr. Robot, and more, and be sure to subscribe so you can keep up with all of that, and thanks a lot for watching.